Hi, this is Harriet Grayson, your host and producer of Community Culture Showcase. And it's certainly nice and hot outside. It is a blistering summer day, and this is what we can expect for the rest of the time. But we are so fortunate that we live here in coastal New England. We get the best of the sun and the surf, and if you're very fortunate, you can get to one of our many beaches and enjoy the ocean breeze. That's us. So I have a very talented guest today. He is a man of Renaissance. He does a little bit of everything in the arts, and it is with great pleasure I introduce Bill Dougal. So Bill, welcome to my show. Tell us a little bit about you and what you do, because you are an artist, you are a musician, you are a filmmaker, a man of my own. Go ahead, tell us.
Yeah, I enjoy having a patchwork career, you might say. Mm-hmm. I get creative ideas, and they may fall into visual arts or audio arts or filmmaking arts. And I do whatever it takes to get my idea across.
And we're going to be able to, during this program, we're going to show a little bit of all of your many talents. Tell us, where do you come from, and how did you get started, and how did you land up in our beautiful community?
Well, I grew up out in Lake Warramog State Park out in Kent, Connecticut.
Okay.
And I had a nice nature-type existence. I used to, as a kid, I was isolated. My father was a state park ranger, so
interesting.
So there's nobody around. I would take my pad and go sketching nature for fun. So I got to be pretty good at drawing before I even went to art school.
Very nice.
And
very nice.
I left the sticks for Hartford for the Hartford Art School.
Okay.
Back in '69, and I stayed there for, well, they usually like you to stay about 4 years out of college.
Right. Is that what you did?
Yeah, that's what I did.
Okay.
And then I got a job at an ad agency, little one-man ad agency down in Old Saybrook, believe it or not.
Yep.
And I went down there and worked, and then over the next 10 years, I worked at other little ad agencies and publication houses as a art director and designer.
Right.
But I did some illustrations on the side, and I did caricatures on the side.
Mm-hmm. Of your many talents, what do you think is you're best at?
I think faces, caricatures.
Okay. Caricatures? Okay. And what do you enjoy doing the most?
Well, I enjoy doing caricatures very much.
Okay.
But I've enjoyed that for 30 or 40 years. Right now I enjoy making videos, writing scripts, and acting and producing in them.
Okay, so doing some filmmaking.
Right. Oh, so to continue that story,
Sure.
Then I moved back to Hartford, and I had a rock band for a while in the 80s. And then I wanted to move out of the city, so I moved out to Lebanon, Connecticut, where I live now.
Okay, so you've been a Connecticut boy basically your whole life, and
right.
Trying both the city and the country, and then really out literally in the woods. And did you actually live in a house on the premises of the state park?
Yes, we did.
You did?
Yeah.
And was that like very isolating in the winter when we had snows, and did the bus come and take you to school? I mean...
Yeah, I think I had to spend about an hour on buses getting to school in Kent. Even though theoretically I was in Kent, I was far enough away that I had to switch buses in Warren, and I was isolated, so I didn't play in town with kids.
Wow.
After school.
That is interesting. Did you have TV?
Yep.
Yes, okay.
Car 54, where are you?
Okay, very cool, very cool. So your first thing was caricatures. Did you study that in art school, or it just came to you, or how do you become a caricature designer or artist?
Well, there's no good answer to that. At art school, they didn't even mention caricature drawing or cartooning. Okay. Or advertising.
Okay.
But when you know enough about drawing anatomy of faces and you sort of mix the realism of portraiture with the cartooning mentality,
right?
You can figure out a caricature.
Is caricature very popular now as a medium? Is there kind of a real interest among the public for it?
Yeah, it is popular. People love it.
Okay.
When I'm at an event, people line up.
Oh, good, wonderful. We have examples of your the caricatures that you do. So here we go, right on the screen. So we have a black and white with a woman with some beautiful hair and some nice big glasses, and then a fellow on the right in color on a, do I see that right, a bicycle?
Yeah, it's a special bicycle for delivering parts in a factory. That was for a retirement gift for a man who works in a factory at General Cable.
Oh,
and
cool.
I think they ride bicycles around their warehouse. So they wanted that commemorated in that special picture.
Right. Is it very much more difficult to go from simply black and white to color?
Yes, color takes at least twice as long. And that second picture took many times longer because of all the details, the logo, the wording, the picture of the product, and the fact that it's finished in watercolor. So that's the range from black and white marker to marker with watercolor and extra details.
Right, right. And you start by, these two people were actually sitting in front of you when you did it?
No.
No.
No, in this case, neither were sitting in front of me.
So you take a photo, is that how you do it?
Yeah, the HR person at that company emailed me a photograph of the man she wanted to give the special gift to, and I drew from that.
Okay.
I think that other one, I drew from a photo, but it's typical of ones that I would draw from somebody in person, as I may do shortly. Is there a big difference between doing it live versus doing it from a photo? I mean, for you as an artist, does it make a big difference in terms of how you do your work? I can do it either way. Theoretically, live might have a little more of a spark to it, but I can work from photos just as well. See, I find photos stay nice and still.
Yes, that's right.
If I'm drawing at a fair and I'm drawing a 2-year-old,
right? Yeah, they wiggle all over the place.
Still.
No, they cannot sit still. That's right. That's right. Do you also do caricatures of like their pets, like dogs and cats and birds and things like that?
Yes, sometimes I do that. Although drawing a dog live is tough because they don't hold still.
They're like the 2-year-old, right?
Yeah.
Right. They're wiggling all over the place, exactly. So I'm going to be thrilled because what we're going to do on camera now is you're going to do a caricature of me sitting right here in front of you.
Yes, I'd like to do that.
Okay, so this is going to be very cool. And what we're going to do is Bill's going to draw me. I'm going to try and sit still, but I also have the tendency like the 2-year-old kid. And then we're going to take this particular caricature, and for our September art show, we're going to auction off Bill's caricature of me, so that we can use that as a little fundraiser, because sec-tv.org is a nonprofit, and we're always looking for ways to make a few bucks. So, am I still enough?
I'd like you to turn the littlest bit that way.
This way?
Yep, that's perfect.
Oh, okay. Do you want me to take my glasses off?
No, not if you wear them most of the time.
I do. I'm completely blind. So that's great. So I'll sit still, which is very hard for me.
Yeah, you can sit still, but you don't have to sit silently.
No, we're going to keep on talking.
I know you probably can't sit silently.
No. So you can watch Bill as he does an outline.
In the beginning, you won't see much because my process starts with a very light pencil drawing.
Okay.
And then when I get it firmed up, I darken it in.
Okay. And that's fairly standard in terms of the process of doing a caricature?
Yes.
So outside of dogs and kids being difficult because they don't sit still, what else is difficult sometimes for you as the artist to try and capture the very best in a caricature?
Well, sometimes if a face has no angles, if it's very nebulous in its shape, it's a little tough. It's easier when there's more angles. That's why I like a 3/4 view, because there's ins and outs. It goes out near the eyebrow, in near the eye, out near the cheekbone, and down again. So there's a little more variety than a front view. I find in a 3/4 view.
All right, that's interesting. Definitely. Do people tell you when you were drawing them, oh, I like my left side better than my right side?
Yes, sometimes they do, but I don't have to pay any attention to that because I don't know my left from my right.
Does it actually make a difference? Do you actually find people have faces that they're left side is different than their right side?
They may be a little bit different, but it doesn't matter to me which side I draw.
Okay, all right. Symmetry is not necessary?
Okay, I'm looking at your mouth now. I'm drawing an open smile now.
Good, because I do smile
A
most
small
of the
open
time.
smile.
Yep. Not a big smile because I'm going to the dentist on Saturday. Not that kind of smile.
Uh-oh. Sorry to hear that.
Yes.
Good
yes.
luck. Hope it
Thank you
doesn't
very
hurt.
much. Thank you very much. And do you find that are there any kinds of people that are easier to do a caricature of?
People with angular faces. People that are older than 2.
Yeah. All right.
As people mature, they get more independent character of their features, I find.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. And older people, as they get more and more wrinkles, does that make it more interesting?
Yeah, wrinkles are cool.
Okay.
But I don't care if I draw wrinkles or not.
Okay, so you don't typically even bother with the wrinkles?
Yeah, I'd draw some wrinkles, but I
Okay.
wouldn't overemphasize them.
All right. So a nice angular nose makes for a more interesting caricature than a small flat nose or are those kinds of characteristics more interesting to you than others?
Yes.
Which part of the body, when you're doing a headshot, is the what piece of it is most important, you think, to actually pick up the best pieces of the person just by doing a caricature?
Well, I guess the eyes are essential to get right. The details of the ear might be the least essential.
Okay.
Because people don't look at the ears much. When people see somebody, they look at their eyes right away.
Okay. All right. And I assume, given you go all over the place and do this kind of stuff, have you got some interesting stories to share with maybe a horror story about doing a caricature somewhere?
Yeah, I've got a few stories.
Sure, why don't you enlighten us and kind of entertain us?
Well, right now I'm proofreading. I know you're a writer.
Yes,
and
I am.
As an artist, I'm proofreading my picture right now.
Ah,
Because
okay.
I can't change too much because I inked it in, but I'm thinking about it now.
Fine-tuning it.
Yeah.
Okay. Just like a writer edits their own manuscripts, yes?
Yep. So I can't edit much unless I wanted to start again, but I'm not going to do that today. Looking good.
It's actually hard to sit still.
Almost done.
Looking at my ears. So looking at me as the artist, what do you think is my most prominent feature on this on my face?
Let me see. Eyebrows are short and high and curved. I love the angle of the cheekbone that I'm seeing from this angle.
Okay. That has to be my Eastern European ancestry. We all have those high cheekbones.
So how do you spell Harriet?
Harriet.
I thought as much.
Well, you can spell it many ways. Yes, yes. So.
You can proofread my spelling of your name after you see the picture.
All right. No, I'm sure they got that one right.
So my process was light pencil drawing, ink it in, erase all the pencil lines at once.
Oh, okay.
And put a little bit of shading in, a little bit of
okay.
tone, since this happens to be a black and white picture.
Good. Yeah.
Come to think of it, I guess I could have done a color picture. It takes a little longer, but I bet we would have time, but I didn't bring my color supplies. And
no, this is fine.
What supplies do I use when I do color, you ask? Well,
yes.
I use a combination of chalk, pastel, Prismacolor sticks, and a special makeup that face painters use that's cake style.
Oh, interesting. Ah, Can we get a good shot of that? It's a little too much. Can we get a sharper picture of that? All right, there we go. There we go. That's it. That's it. There's Harriet. Well, so viewers, let me know. What do you think? What do you think of my caricature? Does it capture the real me? Yes, you can contact me at GraysonHarriet@gmail.com or contact the studio. Let me know. What do you think? How do I look? And of course, we'll let all the viewers know as we approach the September date for the art show, because you, my wonderful audience, you can purchase this as a gift to the studio. So we want you to come on by. And Bill, that's a great thing. And it took you, what, 5 minutes?
Yep, probably about 5 minutes. And this is my quick impression of you.
Okay.
If it was a custom order, I might rethink it and think how I could improve it and do it again before I mailed it out.
Right, right. So tell us a bit about, if people loved Harriet, how they would get in touch with you and where people would find you to be able to do caricatures.
Well, I do them 3 ways. One is live at events.
Okay.
One is live at fairs, retail style. Mm-hmm. One is custom from my studio. And that's very handy for people because if they need to get somebody a gift, they can go to my website, which is caricaturedrawing.net.
Okay.
So caricaturedrawing.net.
Okay.
I've got a general site, dougalart.com, because my name is Bill Dougal, and I do art, so that's my general site, which gives a link to caricaturedrawing.net.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful, because we have on the screen right now your email, your website, and your telephone number, so people can give a holler. So when you have events, you go to places like weddings and things like that. Is that some of the events that you would actually appear?
Yes, it's a wide variety of places that I'm asked to draw live. I just arranged a job to draw for some charity event in Bushnell Park in Hartford.
Oh.
And I draw at weddings, I drew at a Halloween party at a halfway house, I draw at retirement homes, facilities, I draw at colleges by the hour. Where I'm paid by the hour, not by the picture.
Okay.
And let me see, what else?
So these are fairly private events for the most part. When we see you in public at where's your next festival, for example, where you might be doing this stuff?
Well, see, tonight, third Thursday in Willimantic. This probably won't air tonight, so it doesn't matter, right?
Yes. Well, but knowing it's the third Thursday of every month, is this a summer event or is this a continuous event?
They do it most third Thursdays, but I don't always do it.
Okay.
But on Saturday and Sunday, I'll be at the Mystic Art Fair. That's the July 23rd weekend. Mm-hmm. It's not the big downtown one, which I'll also be at in August. It's one over near the aquarium. Okay,
so is that in the old Mystic Village?
Yeah, it's right next to it in the Steak Loft field.
Okay, so that's where you're going to be doing the caricature by the Steak Loft restaurant?
Yes.
Inside or outside?
Outside. It's an art fair with tents.
Oh, okay.
And so I've got quite a few fairs lined up. I'm doing Old Saybrook Art Fair at the end of the month.
In July or August? July?
End of July.
Okay.
And I'm doing the Washington County, Rhode Island Agricultural Fair.
Oh, in September?
No, it's in the middle of August.
Okay.
And it's a big deal because it's very long.
Yes.
5 days and nights. That's an endurance test for me.
Yes, yes, yes.
And let's see what else. Woodstock Fair, Hebron Fair.
These are all Connecticut.
Berlin Fair, Connecticut.
Connecticut ones. Okay. Now, if people want to know where you're going to be, they can go to your website. Do you list these events on your website?
No, I don't.
Okay.
But if they opted into my monthly email newsletter, they would certainly know monthly.
Okay, and how would people get that newsletter?
Or if they looked at my Caricatures by Dougal Art Facebook page, they would see announcements of where I'm going to be.
Okay, tell us again where those 2 sites are.
Well, Facebook is Caricatures by Dougal Art.
Okay.
And of course, the email's up there, so they can certainly ask
Email
me.
you,
They
okay.
they could ask me how to get the link to opt into that monthly newsletter,
All right.
which is through MailChimp,
Okay.
which is the best way to do it. And I only send it out once a month.
Okay. And usually, what's the content of those emails?
Well, it's a newsletter that's sort of set up like a magazine. It's got photographs and it's got samples of artwork. I usually have a caricature of the month, an illustration of the month, and often I have a cartoon strip that I do myself that I'll put in there, as well as a list of upcoming events
Cool.
and anecdotes. Oh, you asked me about anecdotes.
Yes.
Let's see. Sometimes the little kid will say, the parents will say, get your caricature. The kid will say, I can't draw. No, you just sit there. The man will draw it.
Okay. And how do you get the kid to sit still?
Well, I say, look here, and I hold up my hand. Sometimes the kid will hold up his hand.
Yeah, and
That
he'll wave too.
happened a few days ago. But as long as they're holding still, I don't care if their hand's up.
Okay.
And sometimes I'll have the brother or sister or the parent stand over there to engage the kid so he looks in that direction.
Right.
Because I can draw very quickly, but that's mainly predicated on the fact that they're holding still, because when somebody turns their head, they look totally different from the side as they do from the front.
Do you also do like couples or families as a caricature, or is that too complicated?
Yeah, I do that.
Okay.
It is complicated, but I do that.
Okay, all right. And so again, people who are interested in this caricature, you think that is there like a trend thing where things become popular, then they come out of interest, and then all of a sudden things are back in vogue again? Do you think that's true for things like caricature?
I don't know. I think it's got a steady interest.
Okay.
I've been doing it for 36 years, and people are still liking it. So I guess
All right, so you haven't had
it's bucking the trends.
Okay, so there it is. It's not a trend kind of thing. It's just a constant kind of thing. Do people now study it in art school, or is it something?
I don't know that.
Okay, you just picked it up and you've just kind of run with it for the last three decades.
Right.
And you don't tire of it.
No, I love it.
Okay. And why would you love it? I mean, the artists like to tinker and do other. Well, you do a lot of other things, but what's the attraction for you as the artist in terms of caricature?
Faces are fascinating to me.
Okay.
I think they're fascinating to everybody. Everybody loves to look at faces, and we like to look and see what the differences are between one face and another. And I enjoy the challenge of trying to capture that unique character of the person quickly.
So it is in a sense it's an art form built on really first impressions, because you only get to sit with the person maybe 5-10 minutes.
Right, in the live stage, that's true. Sometimes I do caricatures that end up as illustrations.
Right.
And I could work on those for hours to stylize them and put a interesting finish on them.
Okay, a different twist, right? All right. Well, so as I say, you're a man of many, many, many talents. So beside caricatures, we have you talk about your ability to be an illustrator, and
Yep,
do you have
illustrations.
examples of our illustrations? So here we got CMS. What is this?
It says errands.
Errands. Okay, and that was done for a company.
Yes, it's done for a company that makes some sort of thing that's like a compressor or a pump.
Okay.
Believe it or not, I don't even know what it is, even though I've done 10 illustrations for them using that item that mermaid is sitting on.
Oh, okay. All right. Did they suggest the mermaid, or did you?
They suggested it,
Okay.
and I drew it. And my process starts with a rough drawing, and they had some input before I did the final, I'm sure.
Okay.
And I don't know what that thing is. It's about the size of a sports car. It's a compressor pump. It's a very specific industrial use thing.
It must be for the water, otherwise what's the point of having a mermaid? Or just to be attractive, I guess, to catch people's eye. And the other one is a little boy, and there's some houses, and is that for a realtor?
No, it's for an author named Fred Neff from Mystic, and he wrote a book about divorce and how a little kid might have two houses and if he's got a mother and a father that both have their house and they're divorced, and how the kid can cope with it and see the bright side of being in that situation.
Right.
So,
right.
so graphically, I placed the little boy in between the two houses, which makes sense.
Now, in this book, since it's a children's book, I gather, there would be lots of illustrations, I would assume. Every page has an illustration. And do you and, for example, Fred sort of walk through what he, as the author, is looking for in terms of enhancing the words? Is that how it works?
Yes, we do. Yep, he gives me some input along with the script. In the beginning, he just gave me the script, but now he's more organized, and he'll tell me this certain section is what's going to be on page 10, and it's going to show such and such.
Okay.
And then I do a rough drawing, and then he comments on it and tells me if there's any changes. I do another rough drawing, or if he says there's no changes, I go to the final.
So you'd like to work with authors to create illustrations for their books?
Yes, I love doing that, especially for authors that do a children's book and authors that want to self-publish, because that's a great way these days for a writer to realize their dream, even if they don't get that shot at the big time.
Right, exactly.
I've done a few books myself.
Oh, okay. So are you a children's book writer? Is that what your specialty is?
Well, sort of. I turn my songs into poems, and the poems become the text in these children's books. This is called This and That from Bill's Hat.
All right.
It's about various topics. This is about ooey gooey stuff. And this is about things not to do. This is about friends. So different topics.
Okay.
And my style is a little bit cartoony, a little bit realistic. I guess you could say they're realistic cartoons in a way. And my other one is about fish.
Okay.
Fish song fun. Oh, what's that frog doing in the fish book?
So your actual part of the medium is writing poetry rather than actually prose in terms of the illustrations, or is it a mixture?
No, I guess it's all poetry.
Okay.
Although when I wrote it, I thought it was a song.
Oh,
and it actually is a song on the CD.
Okay.
But it's a poem in the book.
All right.
And
so what started first? The caricatures led to the illustrations? Is that how your sort of career evolved?
No, not really, because when I worked at ad agencies, I had a chance to do some illustrating.
Illustrations then, and so they're just grew
parallel,
together.
yeah.
Okay, exactly. And your books are all geared to children, or are there some adult books as well?
My books are for children, but I have
children?
illustrated books that are not for children.
Okay.
I have one more illustration
Sure.
category here. This book by Distinctive Directories as a guide to the shoreline.
Yes.
And each time he publishes that, I do a dozen illustrations. There's one.
Oh, okay.
The homestead in Madison.
Okay.
And this will show you better how they look.
Okay, all right.
And I've been doing them for 15 years, 4 books a year, a dozen pictures. So I've got a lot of artwork of areas that they cover, which is the Farmington Valley, Glastonbury, West Hartford, and the shoreline. So I created a site called DougalFineArt.com where I've got the originals for sale.
Oh, okay. So they're like prints that you would sell?
Well, I usually sell the originals.
Oh, you do, so it's one time. So that's it.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, if somebody buys an original, I'll make a new original.
Oh, I see.
I can do that.
Okay, so you just.
But my
replace them.
originals are fairly affordable, so I don't usually sell a print.
Okay.
So I think I do sell card versions, greeting card versions of them.
Okay. You're involved in everything.
I don't dance.
Oh, all right. There
I
we go.
don't dance.
You
Don't
dance.
ask me. I don't dance.
So when you get a job like what you're describing, it's because the publisher puts out these, what'd you say, quarterly publications and has a lot of advertisers.
Right.
And so you just reinforce the beauty or the interest of the magazine because
Right.
you're not personally selling anything.
No, these are illustrations. The publisher pays me to do the illustrations. and they helped make his book unique as opposed to just type
Any old
type
kind
and
of,
ads.
I see. Okay. Do you
I
sign these works?
wish more publishers would think that way.
Yeah, be a little more open. Do you actually sign them inside those in that magazine? Is your name on it?
Yeah, I sign them, and I have a credit line,
Okay.
and I have the ability to sell the originals after they're published.
All right. That's interesting. How did you get involved in doing this? I'm just curious.
This directory gig I've got, I used to work for Southside Media, Hartford News, and the guy who published that went on to create this directory business.
I see.
So he knew about my work.
Okay. That's interesting, yes. Because there are a lot of artists out there who graduated from, which is not part, your school's probably part of the University of Hartford, I would think.
Right.
That are looking for all kinds of gigs, and these are, I'd say, interesting ones. That if there are some aspiring artists, that you actually represent a very interesting business model, because you've got your hands in a bunch of things that I think if you were an artist, you might not think about that. But you offer a very nice kind of business model with the variety of stuff that you can order, not only to the general public, but obviously to commercial interests. So that's very interesting. I'm sure you didn't plan it per se, but it seems to have evolved, and you kind of pick up on it and just then spread the stuff. I think that's commendable. There's a lot of people who go to music school and art school, and really what they ought to know is something about the business of selling music and art, and you're an interesting kind of role model for people, which actually then gets us into your other great venture, which is that of a filmmaker. So want to tell us a little bit about your filmmaking career?
Yeah. So my videos, there's two. The Rock Doc, a documentary about my rock band Billy and the Buttons, which was, we described ourselves as pun rock back in the 80s.
Okay, pun meaning you were sarcastic and making fun?
Right, yeah, pun as in jokes. Some of our style was punk rock.
Okay.
And sometimes it went from reggae to rockabilly to swing.
Okay.
It was all original. I wrote all the songs, and I had some great musicians putting them over. And we made a bunch of videos back then. I've got a separate video that's not listed there that's got our music videos that aren't just photographs of the band playing, but conceptual videos with interesting things going on based on the lyrics that I wrote. And so even though I made those videos back in the 80s, I stopped for a while, and now I'm making them again now that I have these children's acts.
Okay, so now you've drifted from, or just gone into a different format. You've gone from from music to kids.
Right, my music used to be rock for grown-ups, and now it's for kids.
Okay.
So my videos are now for kids, and they combine education as well as entertainment. That Fish Fact Fun one, I got inspired by doing caricatures at the Mystic Aquarium.
Oh, interesting.
And I had a lot of time between customers to think about what I could do with the fish facts that I learned from the people there.
Okay.
So I created a whole act about fish that relates to a CD, a book, and a video.
Okay.
And the video, Fish Fact Fun, was actually nominated as a finalist in the Blue Ocean Film Festival in Florida last year.
Oh, how interesting. So this is pretty recent, this Fish Fact Fun.
Yeah, it was finished about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
But I think it took about 4 years to make.
Oh yeah, they do they take more time than one would ever imagine. Exactly right. The editing is always the hardest part.
Yeah, I've got a great editor. Her name is Suzanne Latulippe.
Oh, beautiful name.
And she does some amazing editing. That documentary could have been very boring, just photographs and somebody talking over it, but she got things to move around. She got a record to spin around, and she cut the editing based on the beat of the music, so she really did it right. And so we're working on another video. We've got a shoot tomorrow morning.
Oh, okay.
Believe it or not, she's at my house right now, decorating my living room with a Christmas tree.
Okay. Christmas in July, right? That must be something of the theme, right?
I wrote a song called "I Always Get a Cold for Christmas."
Oh.
And so we're going to shoot a video of that. So I've got a couple of guys coming over tomorrow to participate in that video shoot. They don't know yet that they've got to wear fur coats in my house.
Yes, in 95-degree weather. Right, exactly, exactly. Now we have actually a real clip from the video that, if we have it available, we'll show it to the audience. This is.
Boy ties a knot in a lasso. You tie a knot when you tie your shoe. You feed his horse, gives him water too. You feed your dog, at least I hope you do. You're just like a cowboy.
I'm just like a cowboy. La 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 la
la. I'm sitting on top of my horse, just riding along, just riding along.
See right there, that says CB. That must belong to Cowboy Billy.
Oh, I don't care. Watch, I'll just change these here initials. There, DB stands for deadbeat. That's me. Oh boy, got me a cow now.
Honestly?
Well, no, not honestly.
Hey Dan, that doggy McDog looks mean. I don't know if I should get him.
Go ahead. I dare you.
Well, I could get him, because I'm the strongest person in the whole world.
Nah, go ahead. Tell tall tales.
Tall tale, big bigger or not. Once I told this tall tale, and I didn't not.
Once I lived for 3 days on a single can of beans. Then I fell off.
When I do drawing, I put on my artist hat. It's a drawing hat, a French beret, or should I say beret? How do I look?
Ooh la la!
Bonjour. Hey, it looks sort of like a little man. One. You may win first prize for being nice. That's Purdy.
Riding my bike is a blast. I'm hardly ever fearful, even when I ride twice as fast, 'cause I'm 4 times as careful.
So that's cute. That is part of something larger, I assume. That's a trailer for another video. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a trailer for a half-hour episode called Cowboy Billy's Hat Full of Fun.
Okay.
Even though I've got an hour-long episode called Cowboy Billy's OK Corral that's available on Amazon for download, view, or on my website to purchase. Mm-hmm. My new plan is to create 6 half-hour videos with the Cowboy Billy oeuvre.
Okay, so that's your theme. That's going to be your main character.
Right. I'd like to sell them to TV stations, mm-hmm. and in October I'm going to go to a broadcast marketplace in France.
Very nice.
And have my video in the screening room and hopefully get some distribution and deals.
Okay, that's wonderful. What inspired you to you don't look like a cowboy to me, what inspired you to become Cowboy Billy?
Well, when I was young, I was really into cowboys. I even built a little cowboy town in my backyard.
Okay.
And I like rustic things. I like real old music. And mm-hmm. I don't know. There's a lot of fun imagery in the cowboy style.
Right. That theme. Sure.
Like spurs
and it's good
and hats
against bad and stuff like that.
So it's sort of appeals to me as a cartoonist, mm-hmm. whether I'm looking at cartoons that I drew of Western style stuff or characters in the play that have a little bit exaggerated outfits and accents. Mm-hmm. I like to treat the cowboy style with a cartooning mentality.
Mm-hmm. And the idea then would be basically to create a TV series. Am I understanding that correct?
Right. and that would also be educational as well as entertaining. And educational-wise, character values is what I would be teaching.
I see.
For instance, I might say, you know, you should never spit in the sheriff's face. Unless, of course, his mustache is on fire.
Okay, that's cute.
So combining the humor with a message.
Right, but the audience is kids, right? That's the idea?
Yeah, kids 5 to 11, I'd say.
Okay, all right. And something that might be useful even in school systems because moral development, character development is one of those kind of trendy type of topics that schools are interested in trying to presumably teach their student body.
Yeah, could be. All my videos and music entities have a live component, so I could do a live presentation.
Okay, and the characters that are will change. So you have your main character, Cowboy Billy, and each episode he will be getting into mischief or problems, or somebody needs some help, like Tonto and the Long Ranger, or something like that. Is that kind of the themes that you come about?
Yeah, there's all sorts of different skits. Each episode is made up of maybe 3-minute bits. You know, whether one is based on the lyrics of a song or just a comedy skit. I've got some skits written and ready to record about a sheriff and his deputy, and how they got to find the bad guys, the Nilly brothers who stole chili from Millie.
Oh, cute. Yeah. So there's
it's sort of a vaudeville feeling, really.
Okay, all right. And there's also this whole rhyming thing, so it's poetic in its cuteness, which is fine, and I guess makes it easy to render into music.
Right, and it makes it easier for kids to remember.
Yeah, rhyming words, absolutely.
Right.
So that is. So how'd you get? You got inspired as your own kid, but you don't. Do you have kids to work, or grandchildren or nieces or nephews that you kind of test this stuff on?
No, I have no kids.
No. Okay. All right. Just your imagination is the fuel that gets the stuff going.
Right.
Okay. So the other part of your life in this multiple world of Bill Dougal is music.
Right. Yeah, I had my Cowboy Billy live act and songs before I had the videos.
Okay.
And so I do different kinds of music. You could see Songs of the West represented on the left.
With a cowboy,
Yep. And my kids' songs in the center and my crooning on the right.
All right.
And all of these I do as live presentations at senior centers or schools or libraries.
Okay.
And I also have CDs for each one.
And and so you have a copy of that. You are going to give us a little demonstration about some of the music that are on these CDs?
Yep. Let me see. So this is the Cowboy Billy Sings CD. Well, you heard some samples of that, but here's another amusing little example. I got the outlaws stole my clothes and my shoes blues. Got my shoes and clothes were stole by outlaws blues. Got the hiding in the bush 'cause I can't show my tush blues. I got the cowboy blues. I've got another cowboy act, which is not for kids.
Okay.
It's not X-rated or anything, but it's more like traditional cowboy songs.
Right,
like,
songs of the West. Yep.
As I was a-walking one morning for pleasure, spied a cowpuncher riding along. Those type of songs, and songs like, give me a horse, a great big horse, give me a buckaroo, let me wahoo, wahoo, wahoo. Give me a wrench, a big pair of pants, give me a Stetson too, let me wahoo, wahoo, wahoo. Let's hear you wahoo.
Wahoo!
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 Makes me feel at home on the range.
So what inspires this kind of stuff? Do you start as like a poem? Is that how you do your songwriting?
Well, these songs of the West I didn't write myself.
Oh.
These are old songs I've dug up. I like to dig up old records. I did write a couple of songs on this, but that song Wahoo is from the 20s.
Oh,
I
all
heard
right.
it by a group called the Hoosier Hot Shots, and I also heard a version by Al Jolson.
Oh, we were talking really from the past. Yes, yes.
And so, fun songs from Bill's hat. That's general topics, sort of like the This and Hat book. For instance, don't put your toesies in the posies, the smell may make them droop. Don't practice pitching in the kitchen, you wind up in the soup. Splash. See, fish song fun. Let me see. Funny fish swimming round my mind, funniest fish that you'll find. They strike me funny 'cause they're new to me, but they're just like it naturally. Funny fish. And one about Big Bill Beluga.
Sure.
This is sung from the point of view of the beluga whale. So make believe I'm a beluga whale right now.
Okay, there you go.
You'll find me in the Arctic Sea, though it's cold as it can be. Layers of blubber keep me hot. I'm glad I'm fat, believe it or not. I'm Big Bill Beluga. Ha ha ha! Big Bill Beluga. You can call me Bill.
So what inspired that one? Is that from doing work at the Mystic Aquarium?
Oh, yep. Yeah, I was right near the beluga whale tank.
Yeah.
I used to joke that I was buddies with the beluga.
Okay.
I'm on a first name basis with him. I call him Bill for Beluga.
Okay.
He calls me Bill for Bill Dougal. Let me see. Billy and the Buttons. Well, I was sitting around digging some sounds when I heard someone at the door. I jumped to the floor just to make sure. Sure enough, heard it once more. Knock, knock. Who's there? Rock, rock, who? Rock and roll, rock and roll, rock and roll.
So how many songs have you written?
I don't know, more than 100, I bet.
Wow. And do you just wake up one morning and have a song in your head? I mean, how does the process? As someone who writes books, I'm always interested in what the process is in terms of turning some kind of idea into something like a book, into a song, into a painting. So how does it work for you?
Sometimes the ideas just pop into my head. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they're based on a concept, like well, they're always based on a concept, but sometimes I say, let me see, I've written a lot of songs about fish stuff, but I haven't written one about a mermaid, so I might say, okay, I need a mermaid song, and then I'd sort of brainstorm what possibilities of words and concepts that would relate to a mermaid, and then I build up the song, verse, chorus, and think about how the chorus has to be a little more universal than the verses, and the verses have to be a little more interesting and humorous than the chorus. Mm-hmm. And it takes a lot of working, but I love it. And I don't just copy tunes. Tunes pop into my head, and I develop them.
And do you start it off in terms of writing the lyrics? That's how you begin, rather than a composer writing the melodies or the music?
They come about the same time.
They do. And
Yep.
Do I see that you use a guitar? Is that what your instrument of choice is in terms of making music?
Yep, I play the guitar when I perform.
Okay. And when you create these songs, do you think about the kind of melody with the use of the guitar?
No, I don't. I think about the melody, and
Okay.
I come up with a melody, and I've got it memorized and the words memorized, and then at some point I get the chords together. Usually I've gotten the chords from other musicians. Mm-hmm. I'm able to play the guitar, but I usually don't invent the chords. I get help on picking the chords, but they're based on the melody that I've created. Mm-hmm.
So you haven't studied music, but just art, but
No.
You've been able to use your art form to create music.
Right.
With sometimes the same kind of skills that you had as being an artist, you've been able to transform that stuff into music, which is really quite interesting.
Right. And when I write songs, I think I write them benefiting by my artistic background, because when I write a song, I write it with visuals in mind. Mm-hmm. In other words, visuals, things you can imagine. That's why it's easy for me to illustrate the book or create the videos.
Right.
Some songs and poems and writing cannot be illustrated. You don't have an image of something like a banana riding a bicycle. Mm-hmm. Some things are just more, how do you say it?
Conceptual.
Mental.
Cerebral.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you've written these 100 songs. Did you start out thinking after you were doing your art you were going to get into the music, or just one day you picked up the guitar and you started singing songs? I noticed they seem to be all rhyming. Are they all rhyming?
Yes, they all rhyme. Yeah, when I was in art school, I wrote some songs just for fun, just to sing them for my friends.
Yes.
And eventually I had dozens of them, and somebody said, "Hey, you ought to get together with this piano player, Bob Genovese, and see what they'll sound like with music." And I did, and then I got a drummer and a bass player, and then I ended up with a 5-piece band.
Right.
I couldn't play guitar at all back when I had the rock band.
So what did you do? Just sing?
Yeah, I just sang and wrote.
Okay.
And then when the band broke up, I learned guitar.
Okay. All right.
And I've also got a crooning act for the older set with
All right.
songs from the old days, like I've got the world in a string, sitting on a rainbow, got the string around my finger. Lucky me, can't you see, I'm in love. And some Tin Pan Alley songs like crazy words, crazy tunes, oh, that George could croon and spoon. Fa-do-de-o, fa-do-de-o-do.
So since you're taking from the repertoire that exists, what attracts you to a particular song? Like the two that you just sung, are they in a music? You have a CD with those songs?
I've got a CD called Crooner's Corner. Looks like I forgot to bring it, but I sing songs like that.
Okay,
and I do them live at retirement homes.
And what when you pick? I mean, you have thousands to pick from. What attracts you, since you yourself are a songwriter?
Well, it's got to have a strong concept and a little bit of wit to it, and a catchy melody. I'm a real fan of real old music. I have 78 records and old albums and sheet music, and I really enjoy picking out my favorite songs.
And when you do these crooning songs, are you playing an instrument, or do you have a backup band, or is it just simply doing a cappella?
I'm playing guitar when I sing.
Okay, okay. And when you the old stuff, is there a particular group of composers that you really favor? Is there someone in particular that you really like?
I like Johnny Mercer quite a bit.
Okay.
As a composer and a singer. Most people know he's a composer, but
Right, I didn't even know he was a singer.
I like his singing style a lot. And of course I like Gershwin and Cole Porter and Noel Coward.
Okay, very good. How about Irving Berlin?
Oh yeah.
He's actually a cousin of very distant cousin of
Wow.
my husband. So yes, that's interesting. Yeah. And how do people react when you go to a senior center and sing these stuff? First of all, you're so much younger than your audience. What do they do when they come up to you, and what do they say to you?
Yeah, they enjoy the old songs. Yeah.
Do they ask you why you're interested in singing old songs?
No, they don't.
No? And why? It's just because you think those standards they put the test of time, so you figure, what the heck?
Right, I think they're great songs. I think everybody should listen to them. I'd like to sing those songs for kids, if they'd let me.
But you don't. But kids are not interested in that kind of stuff. Well, there's a difference between these are sweet and melodic versus some of the kid stuff, which is what we were talking about before, are rhyming.
Right, catchy.
Which kids, that's the whole Dr. Seuss concept. Nice rhyming stuff teaches you all kinds of stuff. And you're right, that's the way kids actually increase their vocabulary, by picking up a word and finding all the other ones that kind of sound like that word. And that's the way the little minds work. So that's kind of interesting. You've got a lot of themes and you've got a lot of stuff out there. Do you have a sense that you have one compelling message or pull that gets you right to everything? Is there some kind of piece of it that brings them all together in your mind?
Well, with the kid stuff, I'd say laugh and learn.
Oh, cool, okay.
Is a good motto.
Yes.
And for the artwork and the caricatures, I think art for the people is my motto. Because I do artwork that people
ordinary people can appreciate.
Ordinary people can like, and they can afford, and they can hang on the wall.
They don't have to go to some museum or go to an auction and spend $10 million.
Right. Plus, even if they went to a museum, they wouldn't see a picture of themselves on the wall.
Okay,
so that's why
interesting.
that's another reason why it's art for the people.
Right.
It's of the people and For the people and by the
reflective of the
people.
people. Yes, I hear you. I hear you. Very good. So tell us also, you, the man of all trades, also you do some kinds of what we call art presentations. You want to talk quickly about what that means?
Yes, art presentations like Fast Draw Fun. That's a sort of a fun with shapes type of show. It's humorous. You could call them cartoon gimmicks. Like for instance, I'll draw a picture of a I could see a picture of a fish turned into a fisherman. A picture of some eyeglasses turned into some mice. A picture of a shoe turned into a man with his mouth open. And so I do an easel show of those types of gimmicks. Sometimes I extend it into a workshop of creativity where I have the kids try their hand at thinking what shape could be what. Like I'll give them a picture of a canoe and say, what could you turn that into? So they'll be doing some critical and creative thinking as they do that.
Is this for kids, meaning school kids, not for adults?
Yeah, it's mainly for kids, although I've done it at senior centers as well. And I've got a few other educational offerings that I do through Hartford Performs in Hartford and other places. One, I teach, let me see, about the science of fish through this Fish Act. I've beefed it up with more lecture about fish.
Okay.
And I also have an act called Visual Fractions.
Visual fractions, like mathematical fractions.
Right, but I tell them fractions aren't just numbers, but they can be represented by visual things. And I teach them how to draw people based on fractions. For instance, the typical face, halfway down is the eyes, and 3/4 of the way down is between the nose and the mouth. And with bodies, I could say the hips are halfway down and the arm.
Very, very interesting, yeah.
So it's half proportions, you know. They could fit these two arms in here, so that's one whole. The fraction 2 is a whole. And
that's a very creative way of teaching.
I think that's very important. I think visual literacy is important. Everybody's talking about word literacy, but visual literacy is an entity that should be emphasized.
That's great. So we're going to kind of wrap up our show. So Bill, is what's your closing words of wisdom that you have for would-be artists out there in terms of how you can create a whole career for yourself and then go off in many, many ways? What's your words of wisdom to our audience perhaps out there who wants to be an artist or is an artist and looking at other ways of making art?
Well, there's lots of different paths. One is to diversify, like me. That's only if you happen to have interests in all these different areas.
And some talent.
But some people say the best way is to pick a specialty and pursue it. I can't really say which is the best path.
Best route? Well, I tell you, Bill, it's been a pleasure to have you. You are a jack of all trades in the art world. And I'd like to thank my guests for being here today, and I want to thank my audience. If you've got some interesting ideas, please send them in to graysonharriet@gmail.com. Love to hear from you. Also want you to come to our September art show so that you can put a bid on my wonderful caricature by Bill. So this is Harriet Grayson, your host and producer for Community Culture Showcase. And the heat and humidity has got my throat a little bit here. So enjoy yourself, and we look forward to seeing you again.